Hey everyone, welcome to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, we just ask you one teeny tiny little favor. If you find any value in this episode or have found value in the episodes prior, we just ask that you refer us to one friend. That is all that we ask. We are trying to impact as many lives as we can on their walks to wealth. Without further ado, we have a very special guest here, Drew. For anyone that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. So I'm the founder of Grow House. We are a marketing strategy, consulting, and coaching firm dedicated to helping small businesses perfect the fundamentals. You'll see a lot of advertising agencies out there that are either social agencies or they're performance agencies or email agencies. We're one of the only agencies that really focus on the fundamentals of marketing because once you have the fundamentals, everything else, it flows downstream for that. So if you don't take the time to focus on that, we just found that most businesses are not successful in the long run.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then, so let me ask you. So, before you got into what you're doing now, tell us a little bit about your walk to wealth. How did you get here? Where did this journey all start?
So I've always had a kind of a penchant for being creative. So I went to art school initially for film and television. I fell into the role of producer for the early part of my career. I produced a number of films, television shows, commercials, that kind of thing. About 5 years out from school, I kind of had this aha moment where I realized that I didn't love being broke and being broke in this industry quite as much as I expected. Like I kind of was like, no, I can suffer through. I can be broke for a while and do this. And after 5 years of that, I was like, no, I'm done with this. Like I gotta change something. So it was right at the dawn of businesses really getting on YouTube and getting on Facebook with video. And I had a production background. So naturally I had something to talk about with these business owners. So that quickly started kind of a consulting business where I would come in and help businesses get their starts with video on YouTube and Facebook and all the other platforms. And soon enough, that got me some attention from St. John's University. They hired me to insource all of their video production, which, believe it or not, was being handled all by agencies at the time. So they were spending around $375,000 a year just hiring agencies to create short form video content, the kind of content that interns would create today. They were paying out to an agency. So my job was to bring all of that production inside, save them about 60 to 80% of their production budget year one, which was a huge win. That got me to kind of start getting a reputation for being able to come in and fix bad systems, bad departments. And that quickly left to a minor stint in advertising and then eventually into publishing, where I spent 5 years running the content and data operations for a publisher in New York. So niche financial magazine, but I got really used to teaching people in that role. And so it was something that I just had a knack of. It started teaching CEOs how to use webinar platforms that we were adopting and ended with me teaching the entire marketing department how to use the new email platform. And so I just kind of found this niche of like, I'm really good at teaching marketing. Never took a class in being a teacher or anything like that. It's just something that was natural. So kind of consulting gig was wearing down. I was looking for what my next kind of adventure was going to be. And I'd started this side consultancy for small businesses right before the pandemic. So like January 2020, and never really taken off. I'd had some ideas. I was kicking some stuff around. I was talking to some clients, I had a couple clients, but nothing big. And I met two guys that were in the same market. They wanted to do the exact same thing I was doing. And so we thought, well, why not we just combine our efforts instead of being competitors with each other? We can kind of tackle this together. And so one of the agreements was that I had to drop my brand name, which was Grow House, which is the company I founded, and go under their heading, which was Crackle Marketing. So we did that for a year. And over the course of the year, we grew that business from 0 to 6 figures in about 6 months, with really only 3 months of that being actually sales. The first 3 months were literally setting the business up. It was getting the marketing set up, getting the messaging set up, avatars, like all that stuff was all like the first 3 months. And then the next 3 months, we really scaled it from 0 to 6 figures, which was really fantastic. I mean, we'd really clearly found a niche in how we teach people and what we do to train people. So we quickly kind of changed parts of the business and added new features. And over the past year, that's what we've been doing. We've just kind of nipping and tucking and trying to make this thing even more efficient and more valuable, so that the goal is to be the number one value-based coach. So like, where you're paying me and you know exactly what you're getting. You're not giving me $5,000 and I'm disappearing off into the woods and giving you some crappy e-course to listen to. Like that is not what we do at all. Everything is one-on-one or in small group sessions, and it's done with you, not preaching to you or telling you what to do. It's literally holding your hand and walking through the process. So that's where we are today. We serve between 30 and 60 clients at a time. I do cap that just because I can't help everyone. And all of my clients are special to me and I want to help them all the best possible. So we do cap our client pool just to make sure that I'm able to give everyone the attention they deserve.
No, that is amazing. You mentioned a lot of amazing feats. One that really stuck out to me was 0 to pretty much 100 in 6 months, which is ridiculous in terms of how you guys were able to get that going, or really 3 months. And I think this is a great place to start our conversation because, as you know, I think the 90% of all small businesses fail within the first 5 years or something like that, or first 2 years. Some absurd number, ridiculously high number. And you guys were able to come together and get something going and get it to a state where it's flourishing very, very quickly. So, I mean, why don't we just start there? Why do most small businesses fail, and how can we prevent that?
I mean, most small businesses are started by people we call technicians. They're very, very good at one specific thing, right? For you, it might be real estate or podcasting. For somebody else, it might be cake decorating. For another person, it could be like creating the chemical composition for the dye that's used in cake frosting. Like every person has that one specific thing they're really good at. And most small businesses are started by people with that skill. So they have something that they can immediately know is valuable on the open market. And they want to try to step out and make a living for themselves instead of having someone else be their boss. The problem with most businesses being started in that way is that a lot of these people have never taken one business class. They learned about businesses usually you cannot even fathom the number of people who told me all they know about business they learned on TikTok and YouTube. It's just a new world. Like 20 years ago, that never would have happened. Businesses, you either were in a business for years and years and years, and then you finally took the leap out on your own, or you graduated with an MBA, knew all this stuff from get-go, and you were off to the races. Those were the only two avenues. Now you have all of this free information out there, and it's so easy to start a business now that you have tons of people coming through who are really good at what they do, but they have so little experience in the actual business world that they just make tons of mistakes. And so that's really the number one thing that I see take a business down is when you lack fundamentals, when you lack the building blocks of what makes a good entrepreneur. That's when you start seeing things just go haywire. It's also the reason why so many businesses will do so well early on and they'll have like this huge rush and then it'll just trickle out. And it's because it only takes 3 to 6 months for the market to suss out whether you're worth it or not. And if you are leaving clients on hold too long, if your stuff isn't getting delivered, if this quality isn't up to satisfaction, people are quickly going to figure it out and be like, I'm good. I'm going to go elsewhere. And so that's why you see a lot of these businesses have these huge, almost like nuclear mushroom cloud moments in the beginning where they do fantastically well and then suddenly disappear. And you're like, what happened? Like one of the ones I saw recently was this girl in, I think, Michigan, and she was trying to start an online farmer's market. And she documented everything on TikTok and she put so much thought and energy into this thing. And then I go back to her website a couple months later and it's like, we've decided to close up shop. It's like, because she was probably really good at one of those things she was trying to do and terrible at the rest. And she just didn't get help. She tried to do it herself. She tried to learn and the pace of the market was just too much. And eventually she succumbed to it.
So, yeah, you mentioned it. So a lot of people, they get this pull, this energy, this passion, whatever it may be, drawing them to start this entrepreneurial endeavor. And a lot of people it's their dream. For example, someone might I want to do hair. I want to start a hair salon and I want to braid hair. Or it could be, I don't know, I want to be a streamer or whatever their entrepreneurial endeavor may be. And they got this pull for it. And they think that's their way out. That's the ticket out of the hood, right? Into success. And they tend to try to start that business and their dream business, and they kind of end up failing and think that entrepreneurship isn't for them at all. What advice could you give to someone before they go out there and try to start a business centered around their biggest dreams or whatever is they're most passionate about at that current moment?
So one of the smaller parts of my business, but something that I'm fiercely passionate about, is a program that I've launched to help current high school students, recent graduates, and recent college grads get started on their entrepreneurial journey. Because to your earlier point, the sooner we can kind of stop them from making some of these mistakes, the better likelihood they will have at succeeding at their first business or their third business or their 10th business. If we can get those fundamentals established early on. The element that I think I preach the most often to that group of clients is that your first business, you should consider like a starter business, right? So when one of my hobbies is I brew beer. I brew my own hops. I take it very seriously. I brew several times a year. It's just something I like doing, right? But I didn't start there. I didn't start with hops in my backyard and looking up brew science and like nerding out on brewery books. It's not where I started. Where I started was my wife bought me a homebrew kit for Christmas one year, right? I was a kid, right? Was it the perfect beer? No, it tasted terrible. It was like absolutely garbage tier beer by the time I was done with it. Or was the equipment top notch? Was it everything I would? No, the equipment was terrible. I threw most of it out. I saved like 2 parts of it because it was all just bad stuff. Did I have the dream experience of making beer? No, it was again terrible. It was a like borderline gag gift quality beer making kit. So that's the way I want people to think about that first business. It's not meant to be fun or exciting or your dream business or anything, because you want to build a business that you're okay kind of tearing apart at the end of a couple months or a couple years and be like, yeah, that was fun, but I learned a lot, but I'm okay shuttering that. It goes back to how kids used to start businesses way back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. Kid would walk around with a lawnmower and say, will you pay me $15 to go mow your lawn? And right there, a business is born. Does that mean that kid is going to mow lawns for the rest of his life? Maybe, but probably not. Probably he's going to go and next summer he's going to get a job at a hot dog stand or the ballpark or something like that. And he's going to go to college and get a job at the bookstore or something like that. And he's going to move through. So, but people have this idea about when I start my business, it's a business. It's just a singular thing. And then because they don't know what they're doing, they put all this labor and passion into this thing that is probably not going to be fruitful because it's your first time doing it. It's the first time riding a bike. Like you're probably going to fall off. And then when it doesn't work, they get crushed, or when they get stuck somewhere, they get crushed because they're like, I put all my passion, all my energy in this and it just won't work. And that's really frustrating. So what we teach our new entrepreneurs is that you need to start 4 businesses before you start your dream business. And they're very simple businesses. Like people think business, I got to get financing and a logo and a website. No, these are 4 super, super simple businesses. You can start these you could honestly start all 4 in a weekend. If you were really like dedicated, you really could do it that quickly. The first one is copywriting. Written communication is key. Even though we're in a video centric world, you still got to write scripts for those videos. You still got to be able to sell something to other people. And so getting really good at copywriting, getting good to the point where you can sell it as a service, which is a very easy service to sell. I don't know if you've ever tried it. Very easy because almost every business needs it. No business wants to pay for it. So you come in and say, I'll rewrite your website for $15. You do 10 of those and you will be one of the best copywriters of your generation because you'll put in the work. You've made a little bit of money on the side. It's a real business. You're really profitable. Second business that you need to start is, you got some?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny that you mentioned copywriting because I just recently found out about ClickFunnels at the time we were recording this. And until I found out about ClickFunnels, I didn't know anything about like copywriting or like that there was actually something called copy. I mean, I've heard the term thrown around loosely and I'm fairly familiar just from like the context in which it was used and where it was used. But I didn't understand really the importance until now. I'm trying to create my own website using ClickFunnels and stuff like that. And like, fortunately, they have this one software where it's like, and they have a copywriting, like a free copywriter, and you gotta create your ideal avatar, and then like it kind of generates copy for you essentially. And I was like, sheesh, I could probably do this. And now that you're mentioning it, I could probably just go have a meeting with someone, create like an ideal avatar with them, and then use that software to create copy and then sell that back to them. It's free for me to use that software, but because 100%. I took the time to do it, I charge them. They don't need to know how I make the copy, but like it's generated and it's like amazing copy. And
so you just gave me the proof in the pudding. How long did it take you to start that business?
No, I just thought of this in my head right now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
You were
saying.
talking.
Within 30 seconds, you came up with a fully formed business plan. You know what you're going to sell, how you're going to sell it, the value you're adding, who you're speaking to, and your operations, how you're going to go about doing it. You've just figured out every component of that business in 30 seconds. That's why you start with this, because it's not complicated. It's words on a page. And if you can figure out how to sell words on a page, you can sell anything, because that's how you sell everything else, is by putting words on a page. So that's why we start with copywriting. The next thing we go to is public relations. It's PR. And people think, oh, that's weird. Like, most people don't, like, that's not a small business thing like that. I need an experience. I need to go to New York for a couple months and like hang out in some artist studio to get a job. No. PR, all it is public relations. It's just relating to the general public. That's all. It's not a big deal. So how do you start a business around public relations? You find a restaurant in your area that doesn't have too many Google reviews, and you say, hey, if I could get you 50 Google reviews that are 5 stars, which would bump you up in the rankings, would you give me $10 for every review I could get? And they'll be real reviews. No business owner in their right mind who needs that, right? Who maybe they have a 2-star rating and they really need to get it back up, is not going to be willing to pay you $10 a review, right? That's so cheap to be out of that pain forever. And then what do you then sell? Okay, well, so all you're going to do is you're going to set up some kind of mini event with them. So it could be like, say it's a pizza shop, right? So what you do is you say, all right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to pay me $10 per review. I'm going to come by Saturday. I'm going to set up a table outside and I'm going to give away free samples to all the people. And if they like it, I'm going to say, I'll give you a slice for free, right? Was a slice cost 50 cents, 25 cents, maybe, right? In terms of the cost of goods sold, I'll give you a free slice. All you have to do is leave us a nice Google review. You will have 50 reviews that day, right? Now you just take that and you repeat it 10 times to 10 other restaurants. And now you've not only figured out how to deal with the public, because you're the one generating the reviews, you're the one talking people up and getting them interested in the pizza and all of that, getting their feedback. But you've also learned how to negotiate with clients. You've learned how to manage delivery of clients. And so that's the second piece of the puzzle, is like, once you know how to write about something, the next part is the verbalizations, the communication with actually getting that message out there and working with people. Does that make sense?
No, I love the I love that, because I actually had a guest come on who's actually in PR herself. And she was kind of talking about the same things that you kind of mentioned. A lot of small businesses think, oh, how could I ever be published on the media or magazines, whatever. And what she was kind of saying is that most of these people that create the magazines and are interviewed on TV and stuff like that, it's not because they're the most credible authority in the figure or in the whatever industry or space that they're in. It's just that they reached out to the people. They had the information. These people that write the magazines, the blog writers, they don't care about who the person is. They care about what the information is. If they needed like top 5 tips to sell your house, whoever can give them the best 5 tips to sell that house, that's what they want, that information. So if that's me, that may be me. If that's the next person, that may be the next person. But like, these people are looking for the information, and you don't have to be $100 million revenue business to provide some information. It can be as simple as a landscaping company. How do you keep your grass cut nice for the spring? But if you reach out, you have the information. Now, next thing, you're on media, you're getting featured in publications, and now you already have a local from the PR that we're doing right here.
And so
you're
now
instantly
you're
a PR genius.
Now you're seeing the cycle, right? Because what do? You go and do this event, right? This pizza event for one company. Then you write a case study. You interview the business owner and say, okay, so what were you struggling? Well, we opened up. We didn't get a lot of reviews. We were really trying to rise. Okay. And so what did we do? Well, this was the plan that we had. And what was the result? Well, we got 50 reviews. Fantastic. Cut, print. There's your case study. Case study number 1. Now, all you have to do is take your copywriting skills, which you've already honed, and now put that on a page and explain the value of that to the next person you come to. And you just rinse and repeat that cycle. And as people start noticing that, oh, wow, this guy is getting results, then obviously you're going to draw more attention to yourself in terms of other businesses. Say, hey, can you do that? But to your point, you're getting outside people to start taking notice in what you're doing, which can often happen. I've had funny kind of instances where people reach out and be like, hey, we heard you did X for this person. Can we ask you a bunch of questions about this completely other industry or topic? We just wanted your opinion on. So you never know, as you start getting out there and actually working with the public, what doors are going to suddenly open up, because you're now building yourself as an authority in this space, right? And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, this will make sense if you want to build like a marketing agency, or you want to, no, this makes sense if you want to build any business, because all of the things you learn through this process is what you need to run a business. You need to know how to generate testimonials and reviews and case studies. Which is it easier to do? Is it easier to do that on another business that's already established, or to try to figure it out on your own when you haven't sold anything? Obviously, go to the pizza restaurant, 50 reviews in a day and get a great case study out of it. Way easier. So that's how all of these really tie together, is that one builds on the other and then feeds back into it.
Yeah, and then so now that we got a little bit of copywriting down, we know how to now actually get the reviews. What would you say before we start our dream business? What is there any other businesses that we should start now that we got a little bit of experience in our belt? You said there were 4.
Yep, there's 2 more. So the next one is a strategy-based business, right? And so specifically, this is going to be paid media strategy. It is very, very easy if you are dedicated to learn how to run ads on Facebook. It is very, very hard to become extremely proficient at that and optimize to the point where you can be like my friend, Brian Benitez, who works for one of the big banks in New York as a social media or as a search engine marketing. So there's a wide gap there, but the good news is that all of the small businesses out there have almost zero knowledge of how to run their own paid strategy. It's not something most of them invest time in learning, because it's hard, it's technical. And speaking to your audience directly, you're younger, you have a lot more mental flexibility or mental elasticity to be able to capture more of this information, understand the platforms, and then provide value by decoding those. So the next thing you really need to take is you're going to take your ability to generate copy and content, your ability to deal with clients and deal with the public, and understand an audience, because that's half of what you're doing. Generating those reviews is understanding what people like and what people don't like. And now you combine those in a paid strategy that go to a business and you say, listen, would you like to run some ads on Facebook? And they go, yes or no, or we're already doing it. And you say, okay, I will run your ads X period of time for free. And if you don't see a result, you don't owe me anything. If you do see a result, all I ask is that you consider hiring me for this amount per month. You don't have to. It's not a contract. I'm still going to work for you for free for a month anyway, because again, you're learning how to do this. You can't charge them for if you're not an expert, right? I've been running ads for like 10, 15 years. So I can charge people to do it because I have a backlog of success stories in that media. If you're just starting out, you got to go to people and handing and be like, can I do this for you? Right? So you do it, you start getting better at it. For most small and local based businesses, as long as they're spending at least $5 a day and you're not running dozens of ads and trying to do just $5 a day on dozens, ideally you want one ad per $5 a day. That's kind of the math I do. So say someone's spending $15 a day, you're running 3 ads at a time. And now as you're going, you're figuring out your targeting, you're figuring out how to optimize for cost, you're figuring out content works, what formats work, and what platforms work. Because once you master kind of Facebook and Instagram, you can start doing it on LinkedIn. You can start doing it on Quora. You can start doing it on Reddit. There's dozens of sites you can buy digital ads, not very many as big as like TikTok and Facebook and the social networks, but there's plenty of other places that you could learn to buy ads. And by building this business, you've now mastered one of the key factors that will determine whether or not you're successful in your own business, which is being able to buy, create, and manage your own ads. Because yes, you can totally hire an agency to do that. If you hate doing it and it's icky to you and you don't ever want to touch it again, totally get that, respect it. But if you know how targeting needs to be set up, you can go in after you have that agency and look at their targeting and tell immediately whether or not they know what they're doing. Because you're like, that's not right. It should be set up this way. And here's why. Because I have the understanding, because I did this for 10 other clients before I started this business, and I know what's going to work. So not only will it save you money that you don't have to hire an agency, you can probably hire freelancers that are just buyers. And you say, here's the strategy, go do it. But it also gives you the insight to know what's going to work and what's not. All while you're using other people's money. You're familiar with this from the real estate world, right? The best money to spend, other people's, right? Don't learn on your own dime trying to run ads for yourself. Offer the service for free to someone who's willing to take a chance on you. That's the investment right there, right? They're giving you the money to play with, right? It's kind of like if someone gave you money to day trade with, right? It's like you're not charging them brokerage fees or anything like that. You're just playing with the money and you'll split the price if there are any. If there's not, you might have some unhappy customers who feel like, hey, we tried this for a month and it didn't work. But that's why you set the time commitment on it short to begin with, because you want them to feel like, okay, it's been 60 days. We tried it. It's not really working. We'll move on. It's not like you're stringing them on for a year or anything. So that's number 3 is paid media strategy.
Yeah, I was going to say too. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where like, well, not really paid strategy, but like kind of sort of paid, because like I just recently started a social media marketing company myself. Cause like one thing I've been able to do is not really in the ad space at all, but like in terms of like short form video, like I've been able to generate tons and tons of views, not only for my personal page, which is like all real estate related content, but like my podcast page as well, which doesn't have a large following, but I've been able to generate tons and tons of views. And I only started really making videos this year. And like now I'm in a part where like I understand how to make videos. I'm ramping out content. Like I'm posting close to 4 videos a day across multiple platforms. And most people can't post 4 videos in a month. And so it's like I developed a way where like I'm getting views and I'm getting engagement from this. Everyone wants to be on social media. I'm just going to start helping people create video, because I'm noticing that most people, when they create video content for other people, it's more so like maybe like a car driving down the road with like something that pops up like, hey, have you ever thought about this? But like they're not posting actual videos of like face-to-face speaking similar to what I'm doing on my podcast. And now it's like learning that and like seeing, now really starting to learn more and more. One, from trial and error on my own accounts, but 2, now trial and error like on other people based off what I've learned and starting to put that together. So it's like pretty much as you're saying this, I'm like relating to myself like, hey, I was doing this, and hey, I'm doing this, or hey, I'm at this step now, which is just so happens to be the 3rd step about the paid social media strategy and stuff. So this is all like I'm still kind of figuring out myself.
Well, so I think the last business is going to come of no surprise to you, and that's a production arbitrage business. So arbitrage as basic element is buying something for one price and selling it for another. The goal of this business is to sell something you cannot create on your own. And you know that in your social media agency, what's the number one limitation to growth, right? You, because you're doing all the work.
Yeah.
So you need to get out of that business as quickly as possible and get other people into it to fill that void so that you can do the entrepreneur thing, which every entrepreneur seems to forget about, right? You got to run the business. You got to grow the business. That's your main goal as an entrepreneur. Like, I love being a marketing coach, but at the end of the day, I don't get to be a marketing coach unless my business keeps growing. So I have to switch hats and put on, hey, I'm for the next hour, I'm the business owner guy versus an hour ago when I was the coach. So same thing with you. Your next step in that process and that evolution is going to be to find someone else to do that. And that's why I have production arbitrage as the last step, because that's where you learn about scale. That's where you learn about, here's what you need to do to take your business from whatever level you're at, whatever level you're operating, and start making real money with it, because you now grow the business outside of yourself. It's not you writing the copy. It's not you standing outside in a cheap suit giving away pizza for reviews. It's not you going and recording the TikTok videos for your clients. You have other people doing all of those things. You're sitting at the top going, I just made 20K this month. Next month, I want to make 40K. How do we make that? That's your job as the entrepreneur. And that is what so few people think that's like off in the distance. Like, oh, one day I'll get there. You'll never get there if you don't start doing it. And so with your business, whether it's real estate or the podcast or the social media agency, you'll come to a point where you're like, it's grow or die. Either I need to let go of some of this and start paying other people, or this is not going to be sustainable long term.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's crazy how we're having this conversation now, and it just happens to be how I'm playing out in real life right now. Because like once I start doing this social media stuff for other people, I just actually this past this Wednesday, so today's Thursday. So yesterday, literally got my first client, and I have another meeting with somebody else on Monday to get another client for the social media thing. And my goal is to start getting some of these and start building up, because I had seminars that I've done for free on social media, and like
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep doing more free ones. I'm gonna do one more free one and just try to get as many people as humanly possible in that, just from all the people I know from the past ones, and do some paid marketing to get more people in there. Blast as many testimonials as I can, and then trying, and at the end of it, sell like a high ticket thing where it's like, which what I'm doing with the clients now, where I'm creating content for them. And
Mhm.
then after I get a certain amount of those, just write out my steps, procedures, my SOPs, whatever, and like then create a course to then get into that product arbitrage business, where now I don't have to be the coach or whatever. I can sell the class that gives you the step by step how to do this on your own or for yourself. And then I'll just up the price for you to work with me, which will then give me less clients to work with, but I'm getting more return for my time, allowing me to get more time so that I can then slowly but surely step into that role of the visionary, of the entrepreneur, of the CEO, so that I can grow this. And as you say, grow or die it gets to a
Yeah.
certain point in time. It's like you can't just be stuck in the business forever. And so yeah, so
No.
that's gonna be my next step, where it's like I'm gonna create a course on like how to do all this stuff. I might also create a course on like how to start a podcast, just because recently I'm podcasts are starting to get pretty popular. And like I'm not like the world's greatest podcast host, but it's like I've got a couple people that reached out to me so far that want to start a podcast. It's like that. It's like, hey, John, I've been thinking about this for a while now, but where do I start? And it's like, well, here's how I started. Here's everything I've done over this past year. Here's everything packaged that into that course, and that's going to be something else that I'm gonna eventually sell, so I can kind of sell that, and then also sell the other course on how I create content to get, as I said, that fourth level business or fourth business of selling things that are not me, not my time, not me having to physically be present.
So I think the number one thing that if you're going to step out into the course world that you need to be aware of is that it's very saturated at the moment. There's a lot of course
Mm.
creators, course creation, especially through the pandemic, has gone through, I would call it like a dirty renaissance. So instead of a regular renaissance where things get better and nicer, things have gotten significantly cheaper and more prosperous. It's like a Walmart renaissance. That's kind of what it's like. So you have tons and tons of competition, especially in the social media space. So what you really need to do is you need to hone in on specific categories or industries that you can really hyper focus into what strategies work for them instead of going broad. So instead of saying, hey, this is social media for service-based businesses, go, this is social media content creation for chiropractors in the Eastern Atlanta or the Eastern
Yeah.
seaboard, right? You don't have to go that far, but like the chiropractors thing, definitely, like that is a group has money. You've already identified that should be part of your course process, that you're identifying if they have this group has money, and if they
Mhm.
do have money, creating content that is specific to that niche will outsell generalized content 2 to 1 any day of the week, especially if you're looking ticket. If you're looking low ticket, like there's nothing wrong launching a $40 social media course and like hawking it on TikTok. There's people that make
Mhm.
millions of dollars doing it. Like, especially because those low ticket offers are always the entry point to something higher, right? It's the entry
Yeah, the
point to a
upsells.
mastermind. It's the entry point to personal coaching. It's the whatever your next step is, right? It might be the course first, personal coaching, and then done for you service might be your trifecta that you follow. But so you can use as a loss leader. You can sell like Russell Brunson, right? Russell Brunson sells those books for like $7. Like one of the greatest marketing books ever made. You buy for $7 off his website. It's ridiculous. But he knows that as soon as he has you in his ecosystem, as soon as you start reading his books, you're gonna be like, really got to get a click funnel. Like it makes you want to be a part of that company, to benefit from all the free
Mm.
webinars he does and all the free sessions he has and the great builder that he has. He's created. So yeah, you're in an interesting place, my friend. It's
Yeah.
cool to see like everything I was talking about happening in real time. I don't usually get to see it.
No, it's interesting too, because like for me, I also was never really an entrepreneur either. I was never one of those like natural born, like in fourth grade walking around with candy bars and selling it for $1 to my classmates. It wasn't until like I'd say probably once I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's when my whole mindset shifted. And then I kind of realized that everything I've learned growing up was pretty much preparing me for entrepreneurship without me realizing it, because I had all the traits to be a quality entrepreneur. I just never
Mhm.
applied them to make money until I did. And then I was like, oh, this makes sense. And now I'm like working my way through the process and trying to figure out how to navigate throughout this world. And one of the main things I'd say that I got really good at that I'm planning on capitalizing is social media. And I think too, you kind of mentioned earlier on about like the for business number three is like paid marketing, like this whole marketing
Yeah.
side of thing and creating that for people. And whether that's email copy, whether that's video, whether that's the single file post, whatever, content marketing seems to be like the wave of marketing right now. And I wanted to kind of get an idea as for what are your thoughts of that? Because you're also in the marketing world as well.
So, as someone that spent years of my life running content studios, building content studios, and running content marketing operations, I can tell you with absolute certainty that what you've been told about content marketing is probably a huge lie. It doesn't work the way people think it does, and it doesn't work nearly as quickly or as effectively as people claim. And the reason for that misunderstanding is because when it first came on the market, it really did like it was magic, right? You got to remember when content marketing was first really developed. People will say content marketing stretches back into the 70s or 80s or even further back, but I look at content marketing the way we see it really starting around the time of the Great Recession, so 2008. And it was really started, or at least one of the pioneers in it was a man named Marcus Sheridan, phenomenal lecturer, probably one of the best minds on content marketing out there at the moment. So nothing against him. I think he's wonderful. I've got a chance to meet him and share a stage with him. So I'm not trashing his beliefs or anything like that. What I'm saying is that content marketing is an expensive long-term play. And people don't understand that. People think, and for a long time, they think that I go and record a video, I put it online, money comes in. And that's not how it works. Sometimes it works that way. If you're Jake Paul, it works that way, right? If you're entertaining a billion 13-year-olds and you drop a merch, yeah, it can be as easy as you put out content and they buy the shirt. Great. It's not going to work that way for everybody. But there's this kind of, because it was started out of almost poverty, right? Like content marketing came on the scene when no one was spending any money on marketing, right? Marketers were getting their heads lopped off left and right because no one could afford to buy anything, and no one could afford to market any of this stuff for people to buy. So people needed something because people still needed to buy things. They still needed to get their gutters clean. They still needed to get their cars fixed. But there needed to be a level of marketing put out there that was different, that was not paid ads, that was something that could be organically generated from inside of the business and could be deployed strategically to that audience. And that's where the whole concept, and Marcus Sheridan pioneered this, they ask, you answer. Someone has a question that they're asking Reddit about what's the best grill for my location, and you're a grill company, go into that thread and answer their question. Say, well, I think it's our grill and here's why. Here's the reasons. Now, that's a little too promotional for a true content marketing play. The ideal content marketing is going to be unbiased with a very slight kind of push towards whatever product you're selling because you're doing it to build trust. But the thing you got to remember is that if you're a small business and your timeline for making sales is less than 90 days, you're probably not going to see any boost from putting content on your site. It's just not going to happen. The SEO value alone takes years to build up. Back in, again, we go in the time machine, go back to 2003, 2002, when Google put out the Florida update. Florida update essentially killed on-page SEO for most sites, right? Stuffing your website full of keywords, if you're a local business where, you have Schenectady, New York, 15 times across your site, it doesn't do anything. Really, Google at that point really started pivoting to delivering valuable content. And so that's how everything shifted. It became, okay, now we have to put out all this valuable content, but people thought they were going to get the same result as they did with old SEO, where it's like, oh, we can just stuff the website full and within 30 days, 60 days, you're going to shoot right to the top of Google. It doesn't work that way. And especially in most industries, you're always going to be out you're always going to be outworked by someone if all you're doing is organic and content marketing. Because even if you have the best SEO or the best search engine optimized page on the planet for your topic, and you are at the very top of Google, I can spend $3 to $4 and buy the top ad slot. And I've done none of the work you did. And I can do that as much as I want. Because if I'm the big dog, if you're the challenger brand, I can go and buy up all the slots. Like, I can buy up all of your keywords. And I don't have to put out one piece of content because I know that my budget will run out after yours runs out. And so I don't have to wait out the market. I just have to wait out you, right? It's like that old story of the two kids up a tree, the bear trees, the two kids, or no, it's not the tree. There's two kids in the woods. And they come across a bear and the bear starts chasing them. And one kid says to the other, "Oh my gosh, I really hope we can outrun this bear." And the other one says, "Oh, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you," right? So it's like the same kind of thing. That's a lot. Me as the big dog in the industry, I can just buy your keywords and you don't have you can't say anything about it. The only thing you can do is bid against me, which is just going to take more money out of your pocket. So when it comes to content marketing, the idea that you're just going to put content out there and immediately get sales is inherently false. And I think it's been promoted by a lot of that it's this silver bullet. It's going to work for everybody. It works for every industry. Putting out good content is good, but you can't just put it out there and expect it to bring in revenue. It has to be paired with a paid media strategy. Otherwise, you're really just whispering in the wind. No one is going to see it for all intents and purposes. Perfect example. We ran this experiment with our own blog where we didn't tell anybody. We published a blog and didn't tell anybody. Got no traffic. We didn't promote it. We didn't push the stuff just because we wanted to see, okay, so we know content marketing. We know SEO. We know how to set these pages up. All right, let's set it up and let's just see how much spread this gets just organically. And it's nothing. It's nothing. Without posting it on social, without sending it out to your subscribers, without doing a paid media strategy, your reach is going to be negligible. And it will be for months, if not years. I have one client who spent, before we were together, they spent $70,000 on an SEO campaign that didn't net results for close to a decade. So, and just results, not payback, just, oh, we're starting to show up at the top of Google now because we did all this SEO work 10 years ago. So that's kind of my opinion. And I think that really puts me on the outs with a lot of content marketers, but you can take it from me. I did it. I stole this stuff for years. I built the teams that created that content. And I know for a fact it doesn't work the way everybody says it does, because I was in the McDonald's kitchen. I know how the patties are made. And it's just, it shouldn't be relied on as the first thing you do in your marketing journey. It's more a latter stage, like a phase 2 or phase 3 project that you should take on.
Yeah. So then my question is then, how would the small dogs kind of go up there and battle with the big dogs in any industry? Because as you said, content marketing, one of the best things about it is the low barrier to entry. And I think, at least for me, my idea was content marketing. When I think content marketing, I think like Gary Vee, someone to just post like absurd amounts of videos across all his IG, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you think there's a social media, Twitter, there's like a video of Gary Vee somewhere. That's how, at least what I thought content marketing kind of was. And it is a low barrier to entry. So like, how can then one kind of start getting some things going when they're competing with big dogs who just can outrun them and just pay their card and buy up all the keywords and the SEO and stuff?
So you kind of pointed out like two things for me. So the first thing is guys like Gary Vee have a team of people. He pays thousands of dollars a day to get his content produced. Meanwhile, he's pitching, you got to put out 60 pieces of content a day to be competitive. It's absolutely right. The problem with that is people don't have time to produce that much content, right? Most people are not going to do that. And he's even admitted this. There's an interview with him. I believe he's on stage after a keynote, and someone asked him this question and he says, "I'm not talking to the baby boomers and the Gen Xers who already own businesses and have some level of success. I'm talking about the 18-year-old who has literally nothing better to do than sit on social media. Why not spend that time on social, growing your personal brand and building an asset in yourself than going and wasting it watching a bunch of like funny TikToks," right? And so his point at like going and producing all that content was specifically geared for that person that has tons of time. And when I was like 21, I had nothing to do. Like, I had no responsibilities. I had like a part-time job in school, and that was it. So like, as soon as I got out of school and the real world hit me and I had to get a job and work 40 hours a week, well, you weren't going to catch me doing social video or anything like that. I don't have time for that. Even now, like whenever I record content, like we launched a campaign last couple of days. When I recorded that piece, I like scheduled it out on my calendar. Like, okay, I'm going to go and record this. I typed up the script, I have it on a prompter. I know I can record it within like 15 minutes and get a good take. Blocked it out and I recorded it. And that's how I had to do it. I couldn't just like pick up my phone and talk to it randomly and be like, okay, that's good content, push it out there. One, because I'm careful about what I say, because I don't want people having any misunderstanding about what I'm advocating for or what I'm advocating against. And two, it's just not my brand. My brand is more careful than that. It's more measured. I'm not the guy that's going to post 60 times a day because I don't need to. So when I think the two parts of content marketing is the SEO part, which is usually long form video, long form blog content. That's like where you create pillar pages and kind of large stockpiles of content around a certain topic for the benefit of SEO or just to answer clients' questions, especially in a B2B space. And then there's the awareness stuff that you're really talking about, which is still content marketing, still creating content, but you're creating high volume just to be present in everybody's world. But still, if you're running a business account, you're still getting nerfed by the algorithm because you're a business account. You still need to run paid media in order to grow that. That's just that's the reality of the ad world we live in, is that organic reach is going to dry up quicker than Mississippi. So
Yeah. No, definitely. You brought up a lot of good points. So we kind of went over so far how to generate copy. Then we talked about a little bit how we can start getting into that PR space. And then we went into the paid marketing strategies. And then we touched on the product and arbitrage space. And then we talked about some content marketing. And I feel like we kind of get all the tools now to kind of start a business, right? I feel like just from our conversation so far, once we start this business that we're supposed to start, our dream business, kind of is what we've been talking about so far. Now that we're able to start it, what is some advice that you would give to people so that they could turn that dream business into something that is scalable and something that can grow, and not just they spent all these time in all these other businesses just to start the one they really wanted and just plateau? What are some things they could put in place that they probably might not be aware of?
So let's assume that you went through it's a 16-week program. It's a 4-month program that we host that takes you through building these 3 businesses. You build one business a month. And so we're now at the beginning of month 5, and you've kind of taken this, you've taken all the education you got, and you're now ready to apply. The very first thing you should do when you're looking at potentially starting this business is start looking at it through a lens of those 4 elements and see what are the risk factors, what are the opportunities, what's the competition? Is this idea still going to hold up? Is everything you've learned about how marketing works and how business works, will that translate? A lot of great ideas die in sunlight because as soon as you start probing it, as soon as you start asking questions, all of a sudden the ghost turns into a mannequin with a sheet over it. It's not real anymore. It's just not going to stand on its own. So one of the things we do with our clients is after they go through this program, we play the what about game. So they bring us the idea. So say you were coming and you were like, hey, I actually want to take this. I want to take this starter business and I want to grow it into another business. And I want to work for longshore fishermen on the West Coast, right? Or not longshore fishermen on the West Coast, like sport fishermen, not like commercial, just sport fishermen. Okay. And so I would say, all right, well, do you have any inroads to the sport fishing industry? And you go, well, no. Okay, well, why do you want to be in sport? Well, I was in a sporting goods store and I saw rods, or they sell for like $500. It seems like there's a lot of money in that. Okay, well, have you ever gone fishing? No, I've not gone fishing. Okay, so now this is starting to fall apart already, right? You don't have a sincere interest in the topic. You don't have any inroads. You don't really know about the marketplace besides this. So I would say to you, this isn't going to be good. And having someone there play the what about game with you, it doesn't have to be us. Anyone can play this game with you. Most business owners are scared to play this because they're worried someone is going to kill their dream. but that's actually what you want. You want someone to kill the dream because it's only through that process that you can then come back and make the dream bigger and better, right? So if we come to the end of that discussion, you say, yeah, you know what? Fishing or sport fishing social media agency is not going to be my thing. Okay. I got to think of something else. Well, you're racking your brain. You're like, podcast marketing agency. There's tons of podcasts. Podcasts are getting more interesting. I have a lot of inroads with podcasters and people who've been on podcasts and people who are interested in being on podcasts. I have all this experience. I built this course on it, which would be a great lead gen opportunity. Now, all of a sudden it's like, okay, now that looks a little better. So you bring it back and we play the same game. Okay. So you have inroads with this group. Great. How much do you think a average podcaster can spend on marketing? Okay, well, I spend $300 a month on mine. Okay, great. So how much of that is ad spend versus, okay, well, it's all ad spend. All right. So how much are you spending creating the content? Well, I created it all myself. All right. So let's assume every other podcast or most of the podcasts you talk to that are going to be around your size are going to be doing the same thing. If they're only spending $300, where's your paycheck? Right? If they're creating all this content themselves and they're not willing to spend any more, where's your paycheck? Now, you're passionate about, you have inroads, you have all this stuff, but if you don't continually play this game, you'll never realize what the weak spots are until it's too late, until you've already invested all of this time in building something. And then you're going to be like, oh, why didn't I see it? That was so odd. Of course it wasn't going to work. Of course it wasn't going to work. I didn't do the math. I didn't do the research. So that's the first process, is playing the what about game with someone that you trust and trust, respect. Don't do this with your significant other. I tell people this all the time. 9 times out of 10, they will go against it and they will go and do it. And they'll come back and be like, that was terrible, man. Like, I didn't, and now I see why you tell people not to do it with your significant other, because they'll be brutal to you. They'll be brutal and honest in ways you don't want. You want it one level down from that, one level of just soft. Whenever I go to my wife with a business idea, I just did it today. I had this idea. They're all excited. She was like, another business idea? No, we have a 3-month-old daughter and you're already running multiple businesses and you want to do another? Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me about this great business idea. Oh, warlock. So like, they're going to be really, really brutal with you. And a lot of people can't take that. So I leave the significant other out of it and talk to someone you trust, talk to a coach, talk to a mentor, play the what about game. And it will so quickly move you through the ranks of testing ideas to once you hit one and you start playing that game and everything, you have answers for everything. That's when you know that you're ready to shove off and actually build this.
That's some amazing advice. And I hate to cut our interview short, but it's like, I know if I get carried away, I'm gonna keep asking questions. I'll never get to.
I got time, man. I got nothing. You're at the end of my day, so
no way.
Whatever you want.
But so, Drew, where can we find out more information about you? You dropped a lot of gems, a lot of helpful stuff for anyone, no matter if they're 16, still in high school, maybe even in middle school, to as far as to down the road, whatever age they are. Anyone can implement this, put this into action, literally as soon as they hop out the show. Where could we find out more about you, so that if we want to take a next step further, we could do so?
100%. So you can find me at growhouse.org. It's GROHAUS.org. If you have an existing business, if you are just starting out in a business, if you're just looking for someone to provide not only the kind of guidance and education that is needed to start a business and run a successful operation and marketing system, then we're definitely going to be the best call you make. If you're younger, if you're just out of high school, if you're just out of college and you are interested in doing what we call our Compass program, that program is strictly kind of invite only. We don't have anything about it on our website because I only run it with 10 kids because I don't want to have any. I want every kid to be able to ask all of their questions and get through this program, because it's intensive. It's 4 months of you doing this every single day. So if you want to do that, if you want to follow it, it is incredibly affordable. It is only $99 a month for 4 months. That's it. That's all you pay. You don't give me another dime, and you're gonna walk through this process with a group of 10 other entrepreneurs. So if you're interested in that, like I said, it's not on the website. You can't find it anywhere. All you have to do is email me, Drew, Growhouse, GROHAUS.org, and we'll book an interview with you. Make sure you're kind of qualified to do this, and if everything works out, we'll get you signed up. But those are really the 2 ways I can help. I'd love anyone to come to the site and book a free consultation with us, or free coaching session rather. I love meeting small business owners. So, I mean, you'll make my day. When when a little notification pops up that someone booked time on my calendar, it's always an exciting moment for me. So even if
Yeah.
it's the 10,000th time, so,
That's amazing, Drew. And now it's time for our final segment, how we end every podcast episode. Our final 4 questions. Question number 1, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
don't let fear stop you from doing something worth doing.
What is the most admirable trait that you could find in a person?
Loyalty.
If you had to change someone's life with one book, which book would you recommend?
Change their life. I got to look at, you know what? It's not even a competition. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Amazing book. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And the final,
It's just so fundamental. It's like, I could give you copywriting books out of the wazoo, but if you can't get along with people, if you don't know how to make friends, if you can't do this, if you can't sit and have an hour-long conversation with someone, life's going to be hard for you. So I think transformationally, that's really the best book you can give.
and what is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind?
It sounds overly ambitious, and I've had people kind of roll their eyes when I've told people, but I'd really love to help 1 million small business owners before I retire. So I'm nowhere near that. I'm still very, very far away from that goal, but that's kind of my beacon. That's kind of like, if I can do that one day, if I can look back and be like, yeah, got 1 million small business owners. Like I think that would be a pretty cool thing to put on the wall.
That's an amazing goal to reach. And Drew, I really appreciate you taking the time to come here, have this conversation, and just drop bombs after bomb after bomb for an hour straight. I really do appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on the show.
John, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd be happy to be back and chat with you anytime. And the best of luck in all your endeavors. I can't wait to hear what you do.